Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Cheva Narottanam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jamudiyayat Nastapesya Bhatresu Nityam Bhagavata Sevyam Bhagavate Tamasloke Bhakti Bhakti. We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 17, Mother Parvati curses Chitraketu, verse 33. Nayasyasti priyakachin na priyasvaparopiva atmavat sarvabhutanam sarvabhuta priyo hari Nayasyasti priyakachin na priyasvaparopiva atmavat sarvabhutanam sarvabhuta priyo hari Nayasyasti priyakachin na priyasvaparopiva atmatvat sarvabhutanam sarvabhuta priyo hari Nayasyasti priyakachin na priyasvaparopiva atmavat sarvabhutanam sarvabhuta priyo hari Nayasyasti priyakachin na priyasvaparopiva atmatvat sarvabhutanam sarvabhuta priyo hari. Someone else? Mataji? Nayasyasti priyakachin na priyasvaparopiva atmavat sarvabhutanam sarvabhuta priyo hari Nayasyasti priyakachin na priyasvaparopiva atmavat sarvabhutanam sarvabhuta priyo hari Na not he, indeed, asya, of the Lord, asti, there is, priya, very dear, kachit, anyone, na, nor, apriya, not dear, sva, own, para, other, api, even, va, or, atmavat, due to being the soul of the soul, sarvabhutanam, of all living entities, sarvabhuta, to all living entities, priyaha, very, very dear, Hari, Lord Hari. Translation and purport by Abhay Charanavinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. He holds no one as very dear and no one as inimical. He has no one for his own relative and no one is alien to him. He is actually the soul of all living entities. Thus he is the auspicious friend of all living beings and is near and dear to all of them. Please repeat. He holds no one as very dear and no one as inimical. He has no one for his own relative and no one is alien to him. He is actually the soul of all living entities. Thus he is the auspicious friend of all living beings and is very near and dear to all of them. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, in his second feature, is the supersoul of all living entities. As oneself is extremely dear, the supercell of the self is still more dear. And no one can be the enemy of the friendly superself, which is equal to everyone. Relationships of dearness or enemy between the Supreme Lord and the living entity are due to the intervention of the illusory energy. Because the three modes of material nature intervene, because the Lord and the living beings, these different relationships appear. Actually, the living entity in its pure condition is always very near and dear to the Lord, and the Lord is dear to him. There is no question of partiality or enmity. Read the verse again. Na yasyasti priyaka chinna priyasva paropiva atmavat sarvabhutanam sarvabhuta priyo hari. He holds no one as very dear, no one as inimical. He has no one for his own relative, and no one is alien to him. He is actually the soul of the soul of all living entities. Thus he is the auspicious friend of all living beings, and is very near and dear to all of them. Om Jnana Tinandasya Janam Shanakam Sakshun Miritam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Chitte Tayamanobistam Stapatam Jena Bhutale Skramrupakadamyam dadati svapadantikam. Vandeham Shivu Shiyuda Padakanam Shigum Vaishnavamsha Shirupam Jagajatam Saganaragnatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Satvetam Savadutam Parjana Saitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Saganalita Shivishakam Vitam Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jatpate Gopesha Kopka Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vindavaneshve Vishabhana Sutta Devi Pranamama Hripaye Pankha Kalpta Visha Kripa Sindhu Visha Patnam Pavanabhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sati Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare 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 Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Tinamini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharini Nirvishesha Srinyavadi Paskachari Desatarni Srila Prabhupada Ki. So this verse, in the verse there are some apparent contradictions. It says, no one is very dear to the Lord. And no one is inimical. No one is very dear. But then at the end he said that he's a friend of all living beings, and he's very dear to all of them. So dear and not dear, that also difficult to understand. He's the soul of all living entities. We heard in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the soul cannot be cut into pieces, cannot be withered by the wind, cannot be destroyed in any way or harmed. But here we see the super soul is in the soul, according to this verse. It says literally, the soul of all living entities. So what's the problem? We are used to think in the logic of this world, in terms of depth, height, breadth, that width, that we are acquainted with these dimensions, but this is another dimension, spiritual dimension, that not to be understood by our brains. And Krishna is, Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport, we think in this world in terms of friends and enemies. That those who are friends are our well-wishers, they help us to become happy in this world and give us facilities for sense gratification, to make progress on the materialistic path. These are our friends. And those who oppose our materialistic progress, these are our enemies. And that was the first thing when Prahlad Maharaj was instructed by Sandai Namarkam, his teachers, who were teaching him how to rule and divide the kingdom. He did not like his enemies and his friends, because these enemies and his friends, they are created by the illusory energy. It's related to this false ego, this body. We see friends and enemies. And Krishna, as a super soul, is nobody's friend and nobody's enemy in that sense. He has nothing to do with the modes of material nature. He's the well-wisher of everyone. he wants us to go back to the spiritual world. And that, of course, yes, is equal to all, but then at the end he says he's the best friend of everyone, of all the living entities. That Suridam Sarvabhutanam, at the end of the 5th chapter of the Gita, which says, I'm the friend of all living entities. The Surit, Rit means the heart, the friend which is in the heart. That is a most very dear friend. So that means between us and the Lord, between is this contamination of consciousness. We discussed yesterday all these anarthas. This is between us and the Lord. And due to the anarthas, we see people in this world as our friends and our enemies. This person has hurt me, is my enemy. And this person is helping me in my material progress. So that's a contamination of consciousness. It's all like clouds covering between us and Krishna. And therefore, we are not able to find him in our own heart. So those who are under the modes of nature, they say that the Lord is partial. And that point is discussed in the beginning of the 7th chapter. That the Lord protects the demigods and kills the demons. That's quite a partiality. And here it says that's equal to everyone. So how is that possible? That the fact is, and therefore the whole 7th canto is discussed, that, and the story of Prahlad Maharaj and Hiranyakasipu, just to show that the Lord is neutral to everyone, but he reciprocates with us according to how we approach him, according to our surrender. And Krishna speaks in so many verses about how he reciprocates with someone. So, is this partiality? No, it just reciprocates. Everyone has the right to become a devotee. To be a devotee of a demon, it's up to us, and Krishna will reciprocate. That's our choice. But why is that? Why does he punish the demons and protects the devotees? This material world is a prison house. It's a jail. And who belongs in the jail? Criminals, right? And what's the purpose of the jail? Why do we have a jail? In America, they use an euphemism. Euphemism is a term that explains things in a very soft way. They call the prisons reformatory centers. It's for the reformation. And that's why we are here. Krishna wants to reform us, to come again to the Sambandha Jnana, to re-establish our relationship with him. And what's in the way? These modes of nature, these anarthas. And therefore, he reciprocates with us to help us to get out of the jail. That's why he's punishing the demons, to reform them. And so, what is the best person in the jail? The best person in this material world? The best person is described in Bhagavad Gita 5:11, I think. Kayena manasa budhya kevaler indiyarapi yogina Krishna yogina karmakurvanti sangat Chakvatma Sudaye. So there is described the yogis, they abandon all the attachment to the body, mind, intelligence, and the senses, and they act only for purification of their existence. So that's the first godly quality of people in this world. Godly qualities are described in the 16th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Abhaya Sattva Samsudir. Sattva Samsudir means striving for purification of one's existence, striving to remove these anarthas. And if these anarthas are removed, we come in contact with the super soul in the heart, in the soul of the soul. And we are connected. And that connection, Srila Prabhupada explains in Bhagavad Gita, acting in Krishna consciousness is following the dictations of the super soul within. And these are the same instructions that Krishna gives in Bhagavad Gita. So, therefore, we see also in the Ram Lila, you have demons coming, disturbing the sacrifices of the sages, the sadhus. The sadhu is one who strives for purification of one's existence. And therefore these sacrifices are there, different sacrifices for each age. But demons came to disturb them. So that's a disturbance in the jail. Huh? You want to reform yourself, but then you are attacked by others, even in the jail. And Krishna appears to kill them. And then if they are killed by Krishna, then in next life they get on again, they get liberation practically. But no entrance in the spiritual world. That's something else. For to enter in the spiritual world, you must have love for Godhead. And love of Godhead and means you have to live in your relationship with Krishna. And they are not situated in Sambandha Jnana. So they are temporarily placed in Brahman, but then they get again opportunities to be reformed and go back to God. So Krishna, he does not have that problem that we have, bewildered by the modes, seeing things as good and bad in this world. But if we begin to surrender to Krishna, Krishna reciprocates with us. According to one's surrender, I reciprocate. Krishna says that. And yes, it gives us spiritual protection that, 922. Ananya Sintyantram Yechana Payavashte Sanitya Vyukam Yudsemaham. I protect the spiritual advancement of my devotees, and I give them opportunities to purify them further, to engage in my devotional service. That's direct spiritual protection Krishna gives to his devotees. Because Krishna, once we take to devotional service, Krishna says, Name Bhaktya Prayachati, in the 9th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. That because Baladev Vidyabhushan writes lines between the verses to bring it more alive. And Krishna says to Arjuna, Nami Bhaktya Pranashati, declare it boldly to everyone that my devotee never perishes. And Arjuna is replying, you're asking me to do that? Why are you not doing it yourself, Krishna? And Krishna replies, I'm from Mathura, and those from Mathura, they are known as cheaters. But they will believe you. But those from Mathura are known as cheaters, but they will never cheat those whom they love. It's very sweet. So what is Krishna saying here? That if we are not taking to devotional service and connect with him, we are cheated by the material nature. And we cannot connect with Krishna. We see this good and bad. But Krishna says, Apachat Shudracharo, that even my devotee, if he does abominable things, is still a sadhu, Arjuna. So that's Krishna's encouragement. That once we take to devotional service, we are considered saintly, although we may still, due to the influence of material nature, sometimes do abominable things. So that's also something to be very careful with. We may see devotees sometimes do things that are not good, but we should not criticize them unless we are in a position to do that. That's another thing. They are still sadhus. So the point is, the spirit soul is Tatastha Shakti. It's, for our understanding, the 6 Goswamis explained it as follows. We are Tatastha Shakti, marginal energy. We are part and parcel of Krishna. And we have the choice. The problem is, we decided to turn away our face from Krishna. We didn't want to see Krishna anymore. What happens when you do that? What is the definition of illusion in the Bhagavatam? The second verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Chatusloki. Everything what is not connected with me is illusion. Because everything is connected with Krishna. It's stated in this verse, he's in everyone's heart. He's there, but we cannot see him. That's the illusion because of the anarthas. But when we look away, then we don't see Krishna, we see the material nature. And then we develop a material intelligence for making plans to enjoy this matter. And are using and are developing feelings and so on, thinking, feeling, to enjoy this world of matter. And we create a material mind. It's just by turning away from Krishna. So by turning away, we come in contact with the material energy, the Bahiranga Shakti, external energy. But the spirit soul is by nature, although marginal, it belongs to the Antaranga Shakti, the spiritual energy. And spiritual energy is a superior energy. So if a superior energy comes in contact with an inferior energy, what's going to happen? The superior energy wants to control the lower energy, exploit it. And that's what's happening. That's the whole process, why we have turned away from Krishna. But Krishna says, yes, that I want you to turn back to me. And therefore, and that's the purpose of this material creation. It's a center for reformation. Reformation. That reformation means these material modes of nature, which are between the Lord and the living entities. That's in the purpose, because the three modes of material nature intervene between the Lord and the living beings. These different relationships appears. Then we see things as friends and enemy. The whole duality, the manodharma, which has been discussed in the previous verses, how to absorb. We become absorbed in this duality. This is good, that is bad. But what is good? What is bad? That it's all related to the body. But spiritual life means understanding what's good for my advancement of Krishna consciousness. What's good of what will bring me back out of this state of illusion, and accept what is favorable to Krishna consciousness and reject what is unfavorable. Nectar of instruction, second verse. Atyara prayasasya prajalpaniya margam jnana sangam salaudyam satya bhaktir pranishati. There are 6 items which are unfavorable to Krishna consciousness, which we have to give up. Atyahara, eating more than necessary, or endeavoring more for more things in this world that you need. That prayas. Prajalpa, stop talking in terms of good and bad about other people. That's the point. Prajalpa, don't associate with greedy people who are completely absorbed in this illusion. But no, we must accept things that are favorable for Krishna consciousness. Utsanis yadaya tatat karma bhartanat sangatyara sato vivriti satya bhakti vashidati. 6 items good for devotional service. Being enthusiastic in serving the Lord. being tolerant and patient, that engaging in the activities of devotional service, all the angles of devotional service, that and just follow in the footsteps of great devotees. These are all valuable instructions. So that's a different concept. That so one who helps me in my spiritual life, that's really my friend. But those who bring me in illusion, I take a distance from them. I don't see them as my enemy, no. But I take a polite distance, but because they help me to degrade myself in this material world. Because they keep me in illusion. You have the story of Pandraka in the 10th canto. King Pandraka, he taught himself to be Vasudeva, that Krishna. And all his ministers were encouraging him, yes, you are the Supreme Lord. And they were worshipping us as the Supreme Lord. They kept him in illusion. So everyone in this world, you go to school and they explain you in the school, du bist Deutsch, you are German. And the whole culture, and you are a man or you are a woman, and this is your duty, and so on. And you should work hard to get happy in this world, and that's they project in your consciousness expectations. Yes, life will be good if I just endeavor that I will have a nice husband or wife, and nice children, and they will all be obedient and so on. And a whole fantasy comes in your mind with so many expectations which are all false. This is the influence of those who are non-devotees, that they don't help us to purify ourselves. Devotees will help us. We are helping each other to purify ourselves. And this hearing of the Bhagavatam is a great tool in purifying ourselves. That this Bhagavatam is Krishna himself. And hearing it helps to remove discovering. At least discovering is removed while we are hearing now. And soon we go out and the mind wants to do something else again. But we have to train the mind and engage in devotional service. So in the material world, there is this concept of friend and enemy. Who favors my sense gratification is my friend. But Krishna does not have that concept. Therefore, in the beginning of this verse, it is not very dear to anyone or inimical in terms of this material modes. No, it's not. But in terms of spiritual view, all living entities are dear to him because they are his part and parcels. They are his. But he will especially reciprocate with those who serve him with love. And that's natural. Those who serve you feel love, you will also feel affection for them. It's natural. But yes, we are in this jail, but once we are practicing devotional service, as we are getting rid of these anarthas, we are set free. And when we get to a nishta, we are set free. Then we are not a slave anymore of this body. And all these desires which come up in our heart. So therefore, Krishna is Suridam Sarvabhutanam. The friend of all living entities is always in our heart. Any questions, comments? Yes?
I would love to ask you the question that we should not distinguish Islam as bad Islamic food according if they're supporting our material sense or not. Can you give us some practical tools how to fight with this? Because this is somehow I can feel deeply rooted in the heart.
Yeah, practical tools how to deal with this concept of friends and enemies. You know, Maharaj Parikshit, he had 7 days to live. But we don't know if we will live the next hour. Suppose you have friends and enemies, and you have the verge of leaving your body. What sense does it make? That soon you are out, the whole cinema gone. It's we went to so many lifetimes, that so many friends and enemies. Are you still concerned with them? So such a contemplation may help us to understand the reality. This has only a temporary value in relation to the material world and in relation of these 3 modes of nature. So that's what Bhagavad Gita says. What's valuable, what's not valuable. What's valuable is eternal. And what's not valuable is temporary. All these relationships in this world are temporary. But relationships with devotees in which we support each other in Krishna consciousness gives us eternal benefit. That's valuable. So it's meditating on what's valuable, what's not valuable. Of course, because we are still neophytes, still we fight sometimes with each other, because we think in these terms of good and bad, and so on. And that hampers our progress. So we have to be careful with that, not to take all these things too serious. Is our mind who tells us this is important, but we have to tell our mind, no, that's not it. You are wrong. It's not important. But sometimes, due to situation, you may have to deal with that. If someone attacks you, you may not see them as your enemy, but they see you as your enemy, and you have to defend yourself. So that may be the case. Unfortunately, many devotees have experienced that also in their lives. You see, even between devotees, they marry, they love each other very much. And then a few years later, I hate you. It turns the other way. but that's all due to the illusory energy. And that shows the danger of creating material attachment. It's very dangerous. Because due to that material attachment, you come in this duality. And Maya makes you suffer like anything. Therefore, Queen Kunti prays to Krishna, please take away the affection for my kinsman. Srila Prabhupada in the next purport writes, Queen Kunti is not praying to take away the affection for the Pandavas, who are devotees of Krishna. Affection of the soul is natural. But she's praying to take away the idea that they are my sons. That's material. They are not our sons. They are spirit souls, part and parcel of Krishna. So that distinction we have to make. Affection is natural. Attachment is natural. But it must be cultivated in relation to Krishna on the spiritual platform and not on the platform of the body, the temporary platform. So this extreme attachment is very dangerous. It's also in the 24 Gurus is explained a story there, too long to explain it, but the two birds who became too much attached to each other, and it went completely wrong. The attachment was extreme. So we should be careful. We have to see everyone as a spirit soul, and we can be attached to devotees to learn from them, to advance spiritually. Because like a relationship between four hyastas, between husband and wife and husband, yeah, you have different levels of relationship. You have the sexual craving. It's there because otherwise man and woman should not combine. And then a little higher is you do things together. That's also an attachment. Eating, sleeping, so many things. And then a little higher, of the level of the mind, there you become friends. And that's also there. But then in spiritual life, we have the fourth relationship. And that's supporting each other in spiritual life. And as you progress in spiritual life, the other three must diminish in importance. And the fourth one must take completely over. And that's the relationship we need. That can be a very affectionate relationship, but based on that principle. Because we support each other enough to purify ourselves and to come to the platform of loving Krishna. Does that help? Yeah. Something else? Good. Thank you very much. Chantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki Srila Prabhupada ki